For the second year in a row, the defending Cup champion Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers collide. The two teams are still standing. The Oilers are favored to win this year's Stanley Cup. We'll talk about it more on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights.
Your Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi again, everyone. Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick from Las Vegas. Thanks for making us your first listen and view each and every day. Find us wherever you get your podcast. Please make sure to subscribe to our Locked On Golden Knights YouTube channel. And, of course, Chris is the collectibles editor of the Hockey News and also the owner of Silver State Cards and Sports. I am a longtime sportscaster and marketing consultant. Yes, I said that. Got that out. And the host of the Believe in Vegas podcast. Coming up on today's show, of course, crazy things happen, right, when we record at night. But coming up on the show later on, what do the Panthers and Oilers have that VGK does not? Locks for the Cup and our predictions. And we'll start things off with some of the keys to victory here for the Stanley Cup. So the big question, Chris, coming into the Cup final opener in Edmonton, which team improved the most since last year's 7-game series won by the Panthers? So the Panthers, their additions were Seth Jones, who recently I found out the son of Popeye Jones, who was a pretty good basketball player and an assistant coach for the Denver Nuggets. And also they added that rat, Brad Marchand. The Oilers acquiring a couple of D-men in Jake Wallman. They also acquired Trent Frederick at the deadline and a winger, Max Jones. Both teams had injuries aplenty this past season. And you start off with Matthew Tkachuk, who missed 30 games due in part to the injury in the Four Nations. Edmonton's Evander Kane sat out the entire season with a multitude of injuries. And I'm also wondering what car he'll pull up in for game number 1. And Connor McDavid even missed some time. But both teams are improved, and we heard McDavid say that. He felt as though they both got better heading into this best-of-7 Cup final. And we're going to have to see who the better team is and who made the best improvements, right, over last year.
I don't know if I heard Nate Schmidt or Tomasz Nosek involved in that too for the Panthers. Yeah, I mean, just kind of thinking about that, that's a good conversation starter as far as keys to winning the Cup, who improved the most. And I think on paper, the answer is definitely the Florida Panthers. The Stanley Cup champions improved the most, which is just strange to say, but that's the reality. That doesn't mean Edmonton's that far behind. Doesn't mean Edmonton is going to lose this series. Doesn't mean the Panthers are going to win the series. I mean, the game's got to be played, and you got a series of X factors right now. I think all conversations, of course, on the West start with the Edmonton Oilers, Connor McDavid. I mean, get it out of his. Let's get this out now. We don't got to bring it up anymore. But the lasting image is McBaby, right? Everyone calls him Connor McBaby, because he was crying at the end of the Stanley Cup Final. I got news for you. There's a lot of people will be crying in that same circumstance. It doesn't matter how much money these athletes make. It doesn't matter what kind of lifestyle they have. This is everything, especially to the greatest player on the planet. So people that are dogging him for crying, I don't think that's necessarily appropriate, but that gives you an idea of the motivation that McDavid has. So that's, of course, the first key to winning the Stanley Cup is McDavid going into another gear, a gear not to be denied. And, of course, Paul Maurice and the Florida Panthers have to figure out how to contain that. And you got to wonder what Brad Marchand's role is in all of this. Obviously, Marchand's going to be out there to piss off, for lack of a better term, McDavid and take him to the box a couple times, and they'll be fun watching those two out there.
Yeah, for sure. And Connor Brown returns after missing the final 2 games of the conference final on that Alexander Petrovic that hit that literally knocked Brown into next month. It was May, and now we're in June. And, of course, you have to talk about the injury to Zach Hyman. Had surgery. He's out. Matthias Ekholm is back. He came back in the final game of that Dallas series. And so
long
are we going to see Jeff Skinner? Will he skate alone on a 5th line?
I don't know. He finally got his first career playoff goal, so that was fun.
And AJ Greer is day to day for Florida, so relatively healthy speaking. And you don't want, I think one of the biggest keys is to get through most of this series as injury free as you possibly can. You don't want to lose a star player.
No, of course. And neither side wants that to happen. I mean, if it's a clean hit, fine, so be it. But no one is hoping for an injury due to a dirty play. Now, if Keegan Kolesar happens to break Matt Tkachuk's sternum with a clean play, that's hockey. That's going to happen. Ivan Barbashev knocked Radko Gudas basically out of that series with that crazy reverse hit. I think that was in game number 2, if I don't recall. So, again, it's a brutal sport. We get that. And if an injury happens as a result of a clean play, so be it. That's a big part of what hockey is. As far as a key for the Oilers, for me, I think it's the ability to change gears. Again, Knobloch, magnificent move, not only separating McDavid and Draisaitl, but shadowing Jack Eichel with Draisaitl. I don't think Leon Draisaitl's defensive game gets enough attention. I think he'd easily be a possible Selke finalist. He was in the top 10, if I recall. But I think if he focused more on his defensive game, he could be a finalist or at least top 5 in the voting. So we'll see if Knobloch has the ability to change gears. And then that's the game within the game now. Paul Maurice, right? Paul Maurice, he almost lost the cup after being up 3-0. So you bet that there's going to be even more urgency should the Florida Panthers get up to a 1-0, a 2-0, God forbid a 3-0 lead. You will see the mindset of Paul Maurice, I think, no matter what the circumstances are, is we're trailing in this series, let's get back in it. And I think both teams learned a lot about what they can and cannot do based on last year's Stanley Cup Final.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see the Edmonton version of playing finesse hockey. I think there's going to be a lot of physicality. We will see.
Oh, game one's going to be brutal, Tony. It's going to be brutal tomorrow night. Fights, hits, everything.
Should be, right? Just let it all on the line. Try to get that edge there.
And get it out of the system in game 1, too. Get it out of the system in game 1.
As I said on our show earlier in the day, because we're doing, I think, 2 in a day. As I was saying, if Florida gets up 3-0, I think it's game, set, match this year. And McDavid crying because all of that pent-up emotion, last person to leave the ice. But we see a different Connor McDavid. There wasn't a lot of celebration, right, after they disposed of Dallas. The
job's not finished.
Both of the teams are very business-like, knowing that there's so much on the line. And as I've stated before, Florida can win. This could be the beginning, or potentially it is already the start of a dynasty. So I think that will be a key. Whoever gets out to that first physical victory, I guess, if you will, in game number 1, I think you have to score first in these games. Again, big emotional lift, and especially if you're Edmonton, especially if you're at home, because you score the first goal, the fans outside the arena start throwing punches at each other, and you start to get a feeling of a Stanley Cup final.
Both teams have been there before. I don't know if the first goal matters a ton. Sure, it definitely helps. The one thing I'll bring up, I remember I worked the 22-23 Stanley Cup Final, the media day. I got to interview players from both teams, and looking into the eyes of the Golden Knights players, it was business. It was, we've been here before, some of the players at least going back to 2018, and we know what it takes this time. We have that experience. The Florida Panthers, very wide-eyed, very excited to be here. And the Panthers tried. They put up the best series. It wasn't that they weren't experienced, and that's not necessarily why they lost, but until you have that experience, you just compartmentalize it unless you've actually had it before. Now both teams have had it, and now you get to see what they've learned about each other. The Florida Panthers, I guess, have a slight edge coming in as champions. Paul Maurice is a champion. Knobloch is not a champion, but Knobloch has had some magnificent coaching moves and has found ways to get more out of the team, and not just the stars, but the depth as well. So it's going to be fun. I can't wait to watch the game within the game and see how that all plays out.
And then, of course, there is the goalie battle, Bob against Skinner. If Skinner can survive the first 3 games, then Edmonton will be, because he's always good, games 4 through 7, then Edmonton would be in business. Coming up next, what do the Panthers and the Oilers have that VGK does not have. We'll get to that as we return on this nighttime edition of Locked On Golden Knights. If you're looking for a snack that is both delicious and nutritious, then you need to crack into a good source of protein and do it with wonderful pistachios, one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, and it gives you over 10% of the daily value. Plus, they are packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats that makes you feel fuller longer. That's right. And both myself and Chris are in agreement that we like the no shells variety. I don't need to be cracking and snacking all day long and cracking. I'm snacking at my desk on a road trip, or sometimes I just need that quick protein boost during the course of my day. And there's pretty long days here in the desert. No shells, wonderful pistachios, great for the grab and go. And of course, the satisfying crack, if you like the ones with shells, of opening up each shell. It is like snack mediation. Get snackin', get crackin', Vegas, with the snack that packs the protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Again, get crackin', Vegas. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com. Back on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights, Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick from Las Vegas. And thanks for making us your first listen every day. Find us wherever you get your podcast on Friday. Don't forget, each and every Friday is WTF Day with the Fridays, Saturdays. Sometimes it's the Chris times Chris Jr. show. And sometimes, of course, I'm a city guy from New Jersey. You're a city guy from Chicago. I forget that we live in the desert. And tonight, on the drive home, I see a coyote with a snake in his mouth. And the snake is trying to wiggle free. And it was just, man, you forget that you're in the desert sometimes. Just, okay. So in any event,
how are you driving?
You can go anywhere. This was in Green Valley, down by near Tropicana-ish. Yeah, sort of over there.
I can tell you where I'm not going tonight.
Yeah. In any event, you forget sometimes, right? There's all sorts of animals and what have you out there. So what is VGK lacking compared to the 2 Cup teams, Edmonton and Florida? That is the question in this segment. Florida is very physical, and we saw, especially in that Carolina series, when they imposed their will on opponents, they could just beat them down, tire them out, and batter them. Basically, the Panthers also in the final game, the finale against the Maple Leafs, they did a really good job in the area of physicality. And of course, both teams, they will be rolling 4 lines, and pretty good lines too. And, when you look for strength up the middle, I was looking at this for the Florida Panthers. VGK has depth up the middle, but do they have the depth of Barkov, the Selke winner, and Sam Bennett, and Anton Lundell, and Tomas Nosek? I mean, those are just strong, pretty powerful guys. And what do? They get the net front presence, which is definitely lacking for the VGK. So I'll start with my Florida comparison. Again, more physicality. They beat up, I call them a puny Carolina team. And I just think when they want to impose their will on teams, they can. And that's something that would separate VGK from a team like the Florida Panthers. And plus, now they're on a roll. They know how to win, and they know how to do it consistently, not just one cup run and done, but they've been in the Cup Final the past 3 years.
I'll combine my first 2 because it goes along with what you said, but I'm not going to say the Golden Knights don't have depth, but the Golden Knights did not have contributing depth. On paper, I like the Golden Knights' depth, right? You got Nick Waugh down the 4th line, Brett Howden, Kolesar can have his moments and everything. Tanner Pearson was apparently a line 1 player this year. William Karlsson on the 3rd line, so on and so forth. But you did not see contributing depth for the Golden Knights. Then I'll certainly come back with the grit as well, or lack thereof. This Golden Knights team was not the same one that would knock you into the front row and you'd be sitting with the dude eating the nachos, according to Alec Martinez. This was everything but that. So lack of contributing depth and grits is what the Panthers and Oilers have that the Golden Knights do not.
And then when you look at the Edmonton Oilers, it's a combination now speed. VGK just could not match up with a lot of that speed, and Eichel, even with his long stick, could not catch up to McDavid. Could not. I mean, and again, VGK and Bruce Cassidy didn't put Cassidy in that position to win, right? I mean, having him chasing McDavid around all night and playing on special teams. Over 200 faceoffs in that series, for crying out loud. And of course, this is a team that has a lot of skill, but they also have a lot of power, as VGK found out.
Yeah, 100%. And VGK couldn't match it. They almost didn't match it against the Minnesota Wild. I'll go quick on one, and then I'll go a little longer on one. Goaltending. Aiden Hill was very inconsistent. Not all on him. The defense in front
Take both goalies over Aiden Hill right now.
Right now, I mean, of course, they're both in the Stanley Cup Final. Both goalies out. I mean, yes, Stuart Skinner out-dueled Aiden Hill, but Bobrovsky is a world-class goalie. VGK fans, Aiden Hill is not. I'm sorry to Aiden Hill and your father, but the reality is Aiden Hill is not a world-class goalie.
Spicy, bro.
And then superstars. So, yes, Jack Eichel's a superstar. Mark Stone is a superstar. Yeah, these are superstars, yes, but the Golden Knights did not have this playoff series that one player, in these playoffs in general, that one player who could take over a game. You got Manny Tkachuk, you got Barkov, you got Connor McDavid, you got Leon Draisaitl, you got Zach Hyman. I'm sure there's players I'm forgetting because I'm going fast right now. I mean, again, not to keep bringing up the Jonathan Marchessault skeleton in the closet, but the Golden Knights missed Jonathan Marchessault and his ability to be the man that the entire roster can turn to, and everybody else couldn't get it done. So the superstar that could change an entire, not just a game, but an entire series is the biggest thing that the Panthers and Oilers both have that the Golden Knights do not.
And the thing that they both do that VGK does not, they put pucks on net. They put pucks on net. And also, finishing. They finish around the net. My goodness, that I'm telling you, that Connor McDavid goal that he scored on the breakaway in the last series, that still is like one of my. He changes like a horse. He's like changing his leads right back and forth, and then just the finishing touch there. It's hard to stop him. It's hard to stop him once he gets that momentum, and of course, the transition game is something that I feel Edmonton has that the Golden Knights don't have as much. They might have had it earlier in the season, but it wasn't consistent.
There's one Connor McDavid in the world. You can't replicate Connor McDavid. You can't just say the Golden Knights don't have a Connor McDavid. No one else has a Connor McDavid. But again, it's that difference maker. Jack Eichel's a great player. He can be a difference maker at times, but he's more of the 200-foot player. And like you alluded to, him chasing McDavid around and focusing on the defensive aspects. I think, Tony, if you could build a perfect version of Jack Eichel, he would not be even close to a top 10 Selke players, I think is what right. I'm getting from you. And that's not but that's simply...
No, I just want him to score. I want him like 100, 120 points in a season and give up some of that defense. And maybe they're putting too much emphasis and obviously a lot more pressure on Eichel to succeed on both ends of the ice. That's where I stand.
Yeah, no, and that is a very, very fair statement. And, is Jack Eichel comfortable being this version of him? As weird as this sounds, I mean, he seems to get better every season, but Jack Eichel has gotten a lot better maybe these last two seasons. But the Golden Knights won a Stanley Cup 2 years ago. They got to Game 7 of Round 1, and they were not a live Stanley Cup contender in these playoffs. We learned very quickly. They barely got by a good Minnesota team, and of course, a world-class Oilers team shut them down a lot easier than I think people realize. I think people think it was a closer series because of the overtime games and everything, and I don't think so.
VGK definitely had a good power play, but again, the physicality on special teams, the Panthers and Edmonton, we'll see how that shakes out in the series too, because they're very physical teams, and they're
Oilers PK needs to be better though. That's a big one too.
Which one?
Oilers PK.
The Oilers PK, correct. Yeah, they did give up some goals there. But defensively, hey, don't tell Connor McDavid. I hope you're not listening. Don't tell Connor McDavid they're not playing defense, okay?
Keep telling Connor McDavid not playing defense. Keep telling him.
Right, because it definitely inspired him. Coming
Pisses
up
him off.
next, we've got our locks of the cup and our predictions. Stay with us right here on this nighttime edition of Locked On Golden Knights. Back on Locked On Golden Knights from Las Vegas, Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick reporting. We appreciate you making us your first listen every night and day. And don't forget, coming up on Wednesday, we have a special guest. We'll have a bonus segment here for you, a bonus edition. And coming up, Kyle Stitch from AFP Analytics, and looking forward to catching up with him. He's also a sport tax expert, and so we can also quiz him on that, and we will have that. That should be released sometime around 12 noon-ish Pacific time. So definitely we're looking forward to that. Our locks and our predictions. So I saw they had their media day, and I saw Matthew Tkachuk saying there in Edmonton that it feels like home. Of course, he played in Canada before, and of course, he was talking about what it was like there in the bubble playing in Edmonton. So he goes, yeah, I feel right at home. And now you have the Edmonton Oilers going to try to make it uncomfortable for him. I feel that Florida steals game one, but I feel as though Edmonton might have a little bit too much juice this time around. And I'm going to go in 6 games. I will take the Edmonton Oilers. And as my Conn Smythe, I've got Corey Perry, of course. I'm going to go with Corey Perry. Why not? And Connor Bedard will come out and present the cup to him, too.
Ooh.
That was pretty bad.
Too soon.
Too soon.
No, I agree. I put my prop locks.
What were those locks again? What were those locks? Throw them out
my
there
main
again.
one. I got them. Well, actually, I got them still in the air.
You and I both are in agreement.
Recycle.
We both like McDavid to shatter the Great Ones record there for, what was it, 14 points?
14 points. 14 plus, so 14 points.
Okay, 14 and a hook.
So. I like the the parlay. Florida Panthers to win game one, Edmonton Oilers to win the series at plus 420. I like Edmonton to win the series by a game and a half or better. So basically the Oilers have to win the series in less than 7 games at plus 164. The goalie position for the Conn Smythe at plus 270. And then the other bet, this is where you got to make sure you pay attention to your lines. I think Edmonton or Florida wins the series in 6 games. If you bet them each separately, they're plus 490. If you bet them each separately, they're plus 490. But if you bet the series to be decided in 6 games, it's plus 200. It's one of those weird. And then who knows? FanDuel might have fixed that by now, but that was.
You're better off betting each team, right?
Yeah, because you get plus 245. You get plus 245 instead of plus 200.
Yeah.
If the series goes 6, you get 45 more cents. So for me, for the series, Florida wins game 1. I'm going to Edmonton for 2, Florida for 1. Edmonton to win the last 2. They win game 6 on the road and celebrate in Florida. As far as my 2 players, if we're going to do this like we do for locks of the series, so to speak, I think the X factors need to be Evander Kane and Corey Perry. We know what we're getting out of Draisaitl and McDavid. You need the secondary players not named Draisaitl and McDavid, especially Evander Kane.
So I have a 5-3 Florida final in game number 1, and I was just looking at the points and some of the current MVP candidates. So McDavid's got 26 points. Draisaitl has 25 so far in the playoffs. Then you have Barkov, Bobrovsky's also up there. Stuart Skinner are the MVP, are the candidates so far. And for the series, like I said, it would be a crime if they don't play 6 games in this series, because it's going to be so entertaining. I can't see this not being entertaining. And if a team's facing elimination, if Florida's facing elimination, Katie bar the door, because just going to no telling what they will do, right? Because they're just going to go bonkers. They'll do whatever it takes to try to force another game in this series if they face elimination.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we learned last year that a 3-0 lead is not safe, and the Oilers came within 2 goals of climbing that 2-goal that 3-0 deficit. So it's the beauty of the Stanley Cup Final. It's the beauty of the NHL playoffs. You're never out of it. I mean, yes, the Golden Knights series was decided in 5 games. Yes, there's a couple overtime games and some close games and everything. And if the Golden Knights do win that overtime game, it goes to Game 6. Maybe it goes to Game 7. Maybe the Golden Knights do get through the West. That's just how close it is, and how much fun the playoffs are. And you get to learn about. I mean, it's always fun because yes, we talk about our McDavids, our Kachucks, and everything, but then there's that line 3 player, that line 4 player that all of a sudden just goes bonkers. What if Nate Schmidt scores 4 goals in the Stanley Cup Final? Like
I'm here for it.
yeah, I know. I mean, he got 3 goals in the first 2 games, I think, of the
And
playoffs
he
or
rung
something
up the
crazy like
post
that.
on that. Yeah, and he had the post with a slap shot that I've never seen the likes of before when he was playing in
He smacked that
Vegas.
sucker.
Yeah,
No,
he
I mean,
did.
and that's what's fun about this. The unsung heroes that turn into heroes and everything, and hanging on every shot. I mean, it sucks that our Golden Knights aren't there, but I'll still be watching every game as I can and everything. I'll be watching while I work tomorrow, and it's just fun talking about the game and everything. And if you watch with kids and stuff like that, hey, this could be you. Watch what they're doing, that sort of thing. That's an absolute privilege to do that with my son and everything. And it's why we love the game, and it's also sad that we're about 2.5 weeks away from no hockey until late September and everything. Although the rookie camp is around the corner, that's sometime in mid-June,
Rookie
I think, if
camp
I'm not
comes, of
mistaken.
course. We still got the draft later this month and free
Are they doing the
agency.
games here, or are they? I don't know if they've announced like where they're doing like the summer rookie tournament. That'd be cool if that was
Is
at
it
City
supposed? I
National.
thought. Did they play in LA last year? What am I thinking
LA
about?
was last year. LA was last year.
Okay, there's been no.
Vegas
Yeah,
was the
there's
year
been no
before.
word. Yeah, there's been no word. Maybe they'll send them to San Jose. Be a nice little trip there in the summer.
No.
I did have. You had a really nice graphic. I'm going to have to put out all of my picks on a napkin, bro.
Yes.
I still like the total
Yes.
hat tricks over a half at plus 168. Corey Perry would be perfect because he'll get that last goal on an empty netter. Um, what if the cup finale ends on an empty netter? That would be pretty crazy. And then I also
It
like
almost happened when the Golden Knights won, but then Nick Waugh screwed that up and scored a goal with the goalie in the net.
with the goalie in the net. And then the reason why I like 6 games too is because I like the over prop on the total number of goals at 35 and a hook. And I said that I would take a shot. I take a flyer on 50 plus goals at plus 1260. Because
So
what if it
I think
goes
the under
7?
hits. I think the under hits
What if
even
it
if it goes
goes
7
7?
games. I think the under hits.
What if
I think it
it
goes
goes
under. I
7?
think it goes under.
That would be
Both teams have
bananas.
played some good defensive hockey. I mean, of course, if Skinner goes back to his old self, fine. But if Sean Burke winds up giving the Edmonton Oilers his PowerPoint on Bobrovsky, then maybe that affects something. But I don't know.
All right. I'm still stuck on the coyote eating the snake. I still. So Pete DeBoer is still employed, and the head coach of the Knickerbockers is fired, Tom Thibodeau. Pretty interesting. You just extend the coach, okay? You're talking 2 sports here because NBA playoffs finals are coming up this week as well.
What if
You
2
just make it.
conference final coaches get fired
How
in
can
2
that
separate
happen?
sports within a week? Like that's a thing. Like I'll just real fast here. I'm jumping, cut you off here, but this is where Pete DeBoer had a great point about building a culture in a locker room and getting relationships with players. If these coaches keep getting recycled so quickly, you can never improve that culture. I'm sorry, Tony. Go ahead now.
No, the most surprising part, of course, I'm a Knickerbocker fan, but the most surprising thing that happened was the Knicks, they wind up extending Thibodeau last season for 3 years. And so now they fire him. The contract would kick in at the start of the next season. So they owe him essentially $30 million.
Thibodeau makes Tortorella look like a teddy bear.
That's a lot of scratch. We
He's
appreciate everyone tuning in. Don't forget, make sure that you tune in later on today. Of course, we will have, or on Wednesday, I should say, Kyle Stitch from AFP Analytics will be our guest. We'll talk about proposed contracts. From a man, Chris Golick, I'm Tony Cardasco from Las Vegas. We'll see you again real soon right here on Locked On Golden Knights, and please take care.